been leading on all of our efforts in relation to our preparedness, and he has been absolutely excellent in support and in terms of us being able to come to you and give you accurate information. So with that said, I know what all of Jamaica wants. All of Jamaica wants to hear from Evan, and you want to also hear from the other ministers, but I know first you want to know what's happening with Hurricane Melissa, that yesterday was a tropical storm and right now is a Category 4 hurricane. So Evan Thompson, please come and tell the people of Jamaica what is happening.
Thank you very much, Minister Morris Dixon, and I also want to greet my own minister, Matthew Samuda, as well as the other ministers in attendance, Minister Vaz, as well as Minister Mackenzie, who are here. And of course, all persons who are here, distinguished persons, those who are online, the media, of course. Thank you so much for joining us and allowing us to provide you with this update. You know, I'm always the one who is facing the camera, but there are so many others who work behind me and actually provide me with much of the information and assist in the process. So I want to just big up those people, the forecasters of the National Meteorological Center, who continue to do their work very studiously where they are, as well as the leader that supports me so very well, Mr. Rohan Brown, who is the head of our weather services. Now we are at bulletin. We have the last bulletin that we issued from the Met Service was bulletin number 37. We only do 7 bulletins per day. So, you know, we've gone over 5 days writing bulletins every 3 hours. So it has really been a tedious task, but we have consistently been doing it. And we recognize that the road ahead is still far. We do have a lot more bulletins to write and a couple of more days that we'll have to be engaging in that activity. But the latest information coming to us and shared with the public is that this system continues to move toward the west. If you take a look at the picture that's on the screen, you'll see where the center of Hurricane Melissa is located. The system is a Category 4 hurricane. This is moving toward the west at this time. The last location showed it to be south of Kingston. So it has already passed the longitude of Morant Point. It is now just about at the longitude of Kingston and will continue to move westward. But then it is expected to make its turn toward the north. We'll show you that track in just a moment, but you can see the rain bands that are associated with the system as it continues to move westward. Here is a slight loop just showing the development, but the eastern part of the island, it seemed to have been experiencing some rainfall, but it's not consistent. It's really periods of rainfall and actually just coming from time to time and very short periods. But we are experiencing some rainfall over sections of the island, and that is expected to increase as we go through this Saturday and going into Sunday. This is another image of the satellite imagery, but it also shows where a lot of the lightning strikes are in this system. Most of them on the eastern side of the center and in the bands that are surrounding the system. But we are seeing the white area where the dense overcast is moving over toward Jamaica as it moves toward the west. Then this way, we are proud to say that this is our radar image right here in Jamaica, the radar that's operated by the Meteorological Service. And you can see a very distinct eye also being projected on this image. So we see also where the rainfall is occurring in the system, and it is, as you can see, starting to affect sections of the island with the outer bands of this hurricane. Continuing just to show you where the system is moving, we see that it is expected to continue moving toward the west, if you look at that picture, and then it would turn toward Jamaica from the south, moving northward, moving over Jamaica. That's the same track, basically, that we've been sharing with you over the past day or so. And it is expected to be a major hurricane continuing in this way, moving right across the island as a Category 4 hurricane. That is what is projected. It could go for a brief period as a Category 5. That's yet to be seen, but right now the forecast is that it will move over Jamaica as a Category 4 hurricane. And that is expected to start early on Tuesday or maybe very late on Monday, depending on how this system actually starts to move, if it moves at any quicker pace. Right now, the fastest I've seen it move is just about 6 kilometers per hour. That's just about 3 or 4 miles per hour. And so we're watching it moving very, very slowly, ambling over the waters, and then gradually moving closer and closer to us. This is the projected track moving across the island. You can see with that dotted line. But I'm showing this picture really because I want to show you what those green areas to the south and even to the north are, because they represent where the storm surge is expected to affect Jamaica. Storm surge is expected mainly over the southern side of the island, and this would be to the east of the center as it approaches the south coast and as it begins to make impact. So we see the greener areas really over Clarendon, parts of St. Catherine, and then going into Kingston and western parts of St. Thomas. That's where we're expecting most of the storm surge. But if you take a look at that area just east of the Portland Cottage area, and of course where you see those lighter greens and the browns, that is where the highest storm surge is expected to take place. So if you're anywhere in this general area, if you can take a look at your map, I'll tell you what the names of some of the communities are in maybe the next briefing. But for the time being, this is the general area that we do expect to experience most of the storm surge, which means waves pushed onto the land and possibly getting as high as 13 feet. Continuing on the picture here, we'll see the amount of rainfall that we are expected to experience across the country. I told you that we've started to experience some rain, but it has not been intense thus far. But when you look at this picture, you'll see that intense rainfall is projected across the country. This shows that we could have 20 to 30 inches of rainfall over the eastern and some south central parts of the country. And then even in the higher elevations in the east, we could have over 30 inches, getting close to, in millimeters, close to 1,000 millimeters over the period of the system moving across us. So this is tremendous rainfall that is bound to cause widespread flooding right across the country. And it is something to be noteworthy for all our communities. I believe there are flooding potential areas in every parish of our country. And so you need to know if you're in a flood-prone area, if you're in a low-lying area, you need to take note. If you're near to a river course or a gully, you need to also take special note and find some alternative location that you can move to should you be threatened by the heavy rainfall. This is just another picture of the clouds over the area associated with the hurricane. And here we can see another image showing the satellite picture, and we're seeing a lot of the showers and thunderstorms from this system. The track outlook, there are a number of projections, but I won't go into any more detail with these pictures, just to tell you that we need to continue to monitor what is happening, continue to listen to the bulletins that are issued by the Meteorological Service, and of course be prepared for quick action if you need to take that action. All preparations should have been completed, and we really should just be in a safe, a secure place, waiting for the system to move over us and pass over us. So I should point out that there is a slight shift in the track thus far to the west. We're hoping that we'll see more shifts that will eventually take it off the country, but right now the forecast is that we will be directly impacted by the eye, a landfalling between Monday night and Tuesday morning, and it will move across us right through the day on Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Evan. Yes, Minister Vaz, doesn't seem to be good news, but I'm going to take the questions. I'm going to deviate again today and take the questions, just noting that with us, we do have Minister Samuda, we have Minister Vaz, and I did indicate that Minister Mackenzie, who leads all of us on this area, he is also here, and they will all speak to you also. So I'm going to take questions from the media now in relation to what Evan Thompson has just said. All right, we don't have a roving mic. We're in the emergency center. So if you could just stand and I can repeat the question for Jamaica to hear.
All right, no problem. Greetings, everyone. I'm Jason Cross from The Observer. I want to find out from Minister Mackenzie what's the status of the shelters at this point in time.
He's going to come. I wanted questions for Evan. Just on.
For Evan?
Yes.
Oh,
okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Evan Thompson? Everything is clear? All right, so every part of Jamaica is going to be affected. There is a lot of rainfall that is projected. He also said we'll feel the brunt of it Monday night going into Tuesday. And so that's what he has said. We all have to be very, very careful and be prepared for the worst. All right, so now we're going to have Minister Samuda, who will speak to you. He's our Minister of Water, Environment, and Climate Change. Minister Samuda.
Thank you, Minister Dixon. Colleague ministers, thank you for the hospitality. Minister Mackenzie, everyone, heads of agencies, members of the NEOC, members of the media, and certainly those watching and listening at home. As everyone would have just told you, we are facing a Category 4 hurricane that has potential for strengthening. As I have started every update with the statement, because it is incredibly true, and I think particularly true at this moment, it is still not time for panic. It is time to complete your preparations. It is time for some prayer. And it is time for us to plan and time for us to engage our programs. This storm will test our systems. I want to publicly put on record my thanks to Evan Thompson and to his entire team, leadership all the way through the organization, as they've been working 24 hours a day, not on shift or I think in teams. I think every team is fully engaged over the last 10 days as we've been tracking this unusual storm. So I want to publicly thank the Met Service on behalf of Jamaica and the government, because they've been doing an awesome job in keeping us up to date and giving us the information that we absolutely need to plan. We also want to put on record our thanks to our international partners, in particular the National Hurricane Center that does support us significantly with technology and visibility that we may not have locally. We also want to thank the UN country office that has reached out to us and offered their support, and many other partners. We are at a critical juncture, and at our earlier discussion with the utility providers, Minister Vaz made an important point. The proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating in terms of how we execute the plans that we have. But let's look firstly at the state of our planning, certainly for the water sector and its interconnectivity with the power sector. The Water Commission has engaged all of its emergency protocols. We have done a re-review of our performance and ability to restore service post-burial over the last few weeks and ensured that we have ticked the boxes, so to speak, of the plan that we wrote post-burial. One of the things that we've done and is formed a co-working group with JPS. So JPS is very clear on all of the pumps that are critical for supply of hospitals, of infirmaries, of places of safety, of places of detention, so that they can work to restore current to those first. They're also clear on the pumping stations that function to load trucks, so that they know that those are also priority stations that have to be restored, so that we're able to also do emergency water distribution while turbidity settles, while you get your generators dispatched. Now, one of the things that we've not been able to do is to pre-dispatch our generators, and that is for a very real reason. We've seen the issues that Digicel and Flow are having with theft. We've seen the issue of theft of fuel from generators. So we will have to dispatch immediately after the all clear comes from ODPEM so that we reduce that theft. But we have over 50 generators, which are major generators that create the triple phase, or rather triple phase generators that provide the power that you need to start our pumping system. This will restore close to 80% of our customer base within 72 hours of the all clear and turbidity settling. We can't say definitively where turbidity will be a particular challenge and how much of a challenge it will be, but we expect to get to 80% of our customers with sporadic supply after 72 hours, because generators do have to cool, they do have to break, they do have to take their time for service and for refueling, etc. So it won't be 72 hours and everything back up and running, but 72 hours that there will be supply that allow people to catch water, to store, to backfill their storage, and to be able to manage. We've also engaged 4 mobile generators that will move to remote areas that we expect that are hardest hit, so at least they're able to get some water and able to backfill their storage as well. We're also happy to report that 4 of our major pumping stations and treatment plants also now have their own resilience in terms of their energy supply. We installed major generators, including at places like Logwood, which supplies all of Western Hanover and Western Westmoreland. We upgraded the supply at the Mona treatment plant, the Hermitage treatment plant, and indeed at several of our facilities in St. Catherine. So we are in a better place than last year, certainly, to respond to water distribution. We've also ensured that we've engaged our truckers and that they're pre-positioned to go to our loading bays immediately after to start to deal with many of our elderly shut-ins. We've got quite the list from SDC, Minister Mackenzie, so we're able to go to several of those persons who we know are shut-ins and will need a lot of help very quickly. As I said, we're more resilient this year than last year, but this is a bigger storm than last year. And this is a potential direct hit. Beryl was not a direct hit. So we're more resilient. Let's hope that additional resilience is sufficient for what is a worse storm than we would have faced last year with Beryl. God bless Jamaica. Stay safe and stay smart and listen to the official sources of information. If I was to take what I just saw, I wouldn't have been able to drive in New Kingston a while ago because of flooding that's being posted as now. So we encourage you to follow JIS, follow OPM, follow the Ministry of Education and Information, follow the relevant ministry sources, and of course, reputable media houses. Thank you. God bless Jamaica.
Thank you so much, Minister Samuda. And next up, we have Minister Mackenzie. But I think Minister Vaz is asking if he can go first. So we're going to have Minister Vaz, our Minister of Energy, Telecoms and Transport.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good morning to all of Jamaica, diaspora, and of course, media, colleague ministers. So let me start by saying that we had a press briefing earlier, or should I say the JPS had a press briefing for which I attended. So I'm going to repeat some of what I said of the important points there. First of all, I want to caution Jamaica to realize and understand that we did not get a direct hit from Beryl, and we are due to get a direct hit category 4 and possibly category 5. So the level of damage that you saw in Beryl will likely be severely increased and more widespread than what we had. I can say that the presentations that have been made to me by the telcos and JPS and the other essential services under my ministry, I am satisfied that we have a plan in place. But again, I want to caution that the plan is one thing. The execution of that plan is what is going to make the difference in our recovery. I want to say that you have the commitment of the Prime Minister already, that all his line ministers will be leading from the front, meaning that firstly communicating with you, and secondly doing the work and the coordination and collaboration that is going to be required. We can say that Starlink headquarters has reached out to us through their emergency response, and we have already gotten some equipment that is being used by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to coordinate, obviously, the preparations and the aftermath. And I can say that ODPEM also has either received or will receive shortly another set of equipment that will allow for us to be able to communicate during and after the storm. So we will intensify that as needed, depending on when the assessment is taking place after and what additional we need. I can also say that both international airports are now closed. We accommodated 11 flights out of Montego Bay this morning, and we closed at midday. JUTC remains operational for evacuation, and they are coordinating as we speak with ODPEM and the police. As the storm draws or the hurricane draws nearer, obviously there will be more requirements for us to be able to respond. I want to say again, at this point, there's always been a hesitancy when evacuation orders are given. Do not take this one lightly. This may be the one. So follow the instructions of ODPEM and Minister Mackenzie and the government of Jamaica, because we have your safety in mind. And top priority, low-lying areas. I'm sure Minister Mackenzie will speak on it, so I will leave it for them. The toll, east, west, and north, south. I have already signed the order, and I'm just waiting to effect it. So as soon as everyone tells me that the weather is up on us, we will open the toll booths free of cost, and that will remain in place, including the aftermath, to allow for emergency responses and for persons to be able to access and get to their families, their businesses, and their properties. JPS. I was bombarded on the way here with a WhatsApp that is circulating about when JPS is going to shut down the various parishes. It is fake news. Only listen to JPS directly on their social media or their releases, and Government of Jamaica trusted sites and communication apparatus. I can say that between when I went to JPS earlier this morning and coming here, I have now received the request for force majeure from JPS officially. And for those who may not understand force majeure, let me just say, it is a contract clause that relieves a party from fulfilling their obligations when an extraordinary event beyond their control, such as natural disaster, makes performance impossible. So, in essence, the license has certain conditionalities, and in order for them to be relaxed, in order for them to respond, they require the government of Jamaica, who gave them the license in the first place, to sign a force majeure. I can state categorically that this will not be held up. I've already referred it to the Attorney General's chambers, and I am prepared to sign as early as possible, even prior to the strike. So you can rest assured that JPS will not be hindered by the conditionalities of their existing contract. Let me just again caution everybody not to listen to fake news. I know it's very hard because anxiety levels are high on your phone, monitoring every message that is coming around and trying to find as much information. That will just raise your anxiety. Just stick with the government of Jamaica, who has your best interest at heart and will continue to communicate to you as required and as we have been doing. Congratulations to Minister Dixon and the team and Minister Mackenzie and ODPEM. I know it's not an easy time. You can be assured that we will lead from the front and we will get through this together. So I would close by saying this is not a time for politics. This is not a time for rifts and disagreements. Every single Jamaican has a part to play between now, during, and after. And if we do it collectively, in unity, and in harmony, we will recover better and quicker. May God bless Jamaica and every single Jamaican. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Minister Vaz. And so we are going to close out this briefing with our last presentation, and then we'll take questions, but it will be from Minister Mackenzie, the Deputy Chair of our National Disaster Risk Management Council. And he has been the one that's coordinating everything, and so he'll have some very important updates for the country. Thank you. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister, colleague, Minister Evan, officials from ODPEM and members of appointed minister, officials from ODPEM, members of the media, Jamaica, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to advise the country that we have activated all shelters across Jamaica. So shelters are fully activated, and persons who wants to go to the shelters, they can do so because the shelters have been activated. There are 2 areas of concern I want to address quickly. One, I spoke yesterday about the number of cranes, construction cranes, that are left hanging across the corporate area and other sections of the island. Not much has been done since I spoke about it, but I want to advise those persons that they will be held responsible for any damage, loss of life, that those cranes and construction material might contribute to. It is not late to take them down. I am asking those who have up those cranes, right around here in New Kingston, you see them up, still up, making one final appeal. The other area of concern involves some of our homeless population. And I noticed that a lot of people is criticizing the government because there is one homeless man in the Harborview area who got personal attention from the Inspector of Poor and the Secretary of the Board of Supervision, who went out and engaged him in lengthy conversation, trying to convince him it is in his best interest to go to the shelters. And he refused. I saw in one of this morning's newspaper that one homeless man said he'd rather die on the street than going into the shelters. I want to make it clear that we have made all the necessary provisions to remove the homeless population. We have provided public transport to take them to the various facilities right across the center. And we will continue to do so as long as conditions allow us to do so. The question of the mandatory movements will be addressed. But let me say to Jamaica that I don't think we need an order to move from the areas that we know are vulnerable communities. Very encouraging, despite there are still persons in Port Royal who don't want to leave. The Member of Parliament, Philip Paulwell, called me last night to say that a significant number of persons in Port Royal have started to move or have left the community. And we will still be providing transportation in all the communities. And if you listen to what Evan said about the level of rainfall and the possibility of flooding, many of these communities will not survive this flooding. Again, I urge persons living in low-lying areas, areas that are vulnerable to flooding. It is not too late. If you're having problems to move, call the ODPEM. The numbers are available. We will assist you if you are having problems in moving. I said yesterday, and I'm going to repeat it again. When this event comes, it is going to be impossible for us, after all the attempts that we have been making, to advise persons, begging persons to leave. It is going to be difficult for us to say to our first responders, go out and risk your lives now for someone who refused when it was conducive for them to leave. It might sound harsh, but it is the reality. And I don't believe many people in this country realize what is it we are facing. And the government continues to play its part, and nobody can deny that the government has not been proactive. And I want to say something which is pertinent in saying, based on the assessment that was done by the government after burial, the committee headed by former commissioner, who is now ambassador to the United States, a lot of findings. We look at the findings and the recommendations, and a lot of what came out of those recommendations are being implemented as I speak. So our shelters are up and running. Transportation to transport people to the shelters are available. The critical communities know themselves. Rocky Point in Clarendon, Portland Cottage, Bamboo River in St. Thomas, New Haven, Riverton City, Taylorlands. I can go on and name. These communities know themselves. They know the difficulties. And with a Category 4 hurricane, with the possibility of raising to a Category 5, there is nothing more we can do as a government but to beg and beseech persons to heed the warning. And if it will help, I will go on my knees. It is the collective response of all of us as Jamaicans that will take us through. This is just the beginning. And if anybody believes that being stubborn helps, well, that is their funeral. This is one bet you cannot win. You cannot bet against Melissa. Don't do it because you can't win. And I'm urging Jamaicans, we'll be back later on if needs be to give further updates. Minister Dixon have indicated that we'll be back tomorrow morning. And if possible, we can come back on Tuesday. We will be coming back. We will continue to speak to the country. But we can only speak as loud as you will allow us to speak. So, the shelters are up. The Ministry of Labor and Social Security have started to make arrangements to provide relief supplies for all our shelters. The shelter numbers are up, and I'm going to ask Ms. Edwards to come and to give some numbers that persons can make contact. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, Jamaicans, I beg of you, I urge you. And as a praying country, let us continue to pray for God's guidance and strength as we commence this journey that only God knows where it will end. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, Minister Mackenzie, Minister Vaz, heads of entities here, Board Chairman, ODPEM team, media. The numbers that Minister spoke about will be, of course, placed on various. Can't hear? I have to speak a little louder. Is this better? All right. So just to indicate that the numbers that Minister spoke about will be accessible on the various platforms that are there for the information that is being provided by the ODPEM. And we want persons to, of course, go to these platforms, the ODPEM website, the WhatsApp channel, the JIS, all of the information that we have for emergency numbers, high-risk areas are all there. In terms of shelters, we do have approximately 31 shelters already activated. And so persons, we, Minister, seem to be taking the information very seriously. And we just want to encourage persons. It is a very dangerous hurricane that is approaching us. And we want to make sure that every Jamaican is safe. And so we are asking persons to heed the messages from the various entities, the Met Office, the ODPEM, the JIS, the other entities of government that is providing information to keep us safe. And we can't overemphasize the importance of us being prepared, of us taking the information seriously, because we don't really want to have any sort of catastrophic information or any sort of catastrophic or life loss on this watch. And so I just want to encourage every Jamaican out there to take the information seriously. Persons that live in low-lying and flood-prone areas, we ask you to evacuate because the storm is approaching us. And so I just want to just say to the teams that have been working very hard, thank you for your work. Thank you for all of the efforts that you've put in so far. The coordination is a number of parts. And so, it is, to bring it all together and to have it seamless is, a lot of dedication and hard work from a lot of persons from various entities, ministries, and departments. And so I just want to just say that may the Lord just keep us safe through the passage of this storm as it approaches us. And we just ask you all to also be safe. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And also the emergency number for ODPEM, you can always call that number. There's a team here in this building that is taking the calls. If you're in any trouble, you can call that number. Yes, we have the numbers online for all shelters, but there's a main number here, and we'll put it up after this press conference. There's some questions. Minister Vaz, I know you need to give us some more updates, and then we'll take more questions.
Just to reiterate Minister Mackenzie's message a while ago, I just received a WhatsApp update from the JUTC. They have responded to 4 evacuations calls since yesterday, I suspect through ODPEM. As far as Flaggerman in St. Elizabeth, where the residents refused to board the bus. So we sent a bus all the way to Flaggerman in St. Elizabeth. No response. Old Harbour Bay, yesterday, only 10 persons boarded the bus. Port Royal and Raytown today, same response. So we have deployed our resources and are awaiting boarding. So we actually, there's going to have buses on spot now, parked, waiting to evacuate, and the response is not there. So I want to reiterate based on what Minister Mackenzie just said, and also to say that the update from JUTC as of right now is that they are running limited operations and will likely cease operations by mid-afternoon due to rising water levels, low visibility, and of course, the weather coming closer. JUTC is also providing special support in transporting medical staff to the KPH, and we are prepared to respond to similar requests from the public health sector. So again, just indicating that we are doing everything physically possible. And to say, as Desmond rightly said a while ago, you cannot win this bet, so don't gamble. Last but not least, two numbers that I would like to share with you to report vandalism of the telcos, which is a major problem, including this morning on Red Hills Road. 876-922-4357. So that will be 876-922-HELP. And also, for Digicel, that would be Flow. For Digicel, we have a number here. That I just received 876-355-5000. 876-355-5000. That's to report vandalism on the both telcos. And as I said before, for every time somebody does anything to harm the property of the telcos, whether it be diesel oil or generators or fiber, cable, it is only going to set us back in our recovery efforts. So I see the officer nodding. Zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. Thank you.
All right, thank you again, Minister Vaz. Any other minister wants to say something in addition? No? All right, okay, we're going to be taking the questions from the media, and we also have some questions also online that have been coming through, and so I'm going to be able to ask those questions that are coming from the public. But let me start with the media that's here. Thank you to the members of the media for coming out. I also want to acknowledge that we're live on television. We're also live across most radio stations. And so I want to thank all of our media houses for doing their part in getting the information out to Jamaica. All right, so I'm going to have, offices tomorrow. Just to note, as you would have heard from Evan Thompson's update, government offices will be closed tomorrow. I already have the question about schools. Schools will be closed tomorrow. And so we're also encouraging our private sector partners to also follow suit. All right, so the first question is from Zara Burton. We don't have the regular setup as in OPM, so you'll have to just ask a question. I may have to ask it back.
Hi.
Oh, she has one. Okay, good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Zara Burton, working today for Reuters. They asked just a while ago why no mandatory evacuation yet. Just wanted to get that clarified. I'm sorry if I missed it. Desmond Mackenzie, I think you had said that there was none yet, Minister. So I just want clarification on that. Two, also Minister Mackenzie, is it 31? I just heard shelters that are activated or all? Because I thought you said all, but then I heard 31. So is it?
So all are activated. Only 31 have individuals having shown up so far.
Okay, yes. Understood.
Yes.
Okay,
but they've all been activated now. That order was made by Minister Mackenzie.
Activations, it's 8.
It's 881.
881
shelters that we have across the island. And remember that we'll have the shelters, but we don't necessarily have anyone wanting to go in the shelters yet. And as you would have seen outside, I know at least in Kingston, you have some showers on and off, no real flooding as yet. And so we expect that as conditions change, more individuals will go to the shelter. 218 persons are in the shelters now. That's the number being provided by ODPEM.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, God, what is this? Minister Vaz, this is for you. Internet for reporters. I just wanted to know if there is a provision possible when you speak to the Starlink people for us to, let us say, patch into something special so that we can get access to internet consistently throughout the storm?
The best case scenario for that would be to be in touch with Starlink directly.
Okay.
We can discuss it.
Okay.
We'll do what we can.
Okay. Also, set schedule for reporters for the daily conferences. Will there be, any kind of like set schedule that you're hoping to at least, or general guidance that you can give us throughout the storm?
Okay, I will answer that one.
Yeah.
So in terms of schedule for briefings, we will be doing this each day. Today we moved into the emergency center, so it took us a little while to set up thanks to the GIS team and the ODPEM team. But tomorrow morning we'll have our usual 10:30 briefing. Now that happens at 10:30 because ODPEM needs time to liaise with the National Hurricane Center in the morning. And so at 10:30 tomorrow, we'll do this again right here in ODPEM. We are also willing to do other briefings as the day goes on. I know some media houses have asked if they can have their reporters ensconced here, and we will allow that. That's usually the way it happens. So if some media houses want to have their people here with us, they are allowed to be here with us. We don't want an information vacuum out there, and so we're being as open as we can.
Okay. The questions.
Right. Thank you. Evacuation orders. And so that is actually being worked on as we speak. I expect that later today you will hear some more on mandatory evacuation orders. Given what Mr. Thompson has said, it is looking like we do need to do that, and you would have heard from Minister Vaz that buses were sent to particularly vulnerable areas. Individuals at that time yesterday did not want to leave. We may have to do evacuation orders, and that decision is going to be taken later this afternoon. And we will tell you as soon as it is done. We'll send out a media advisory on it. All right, Mahiri.
Afternoon, everybody. Mahiri Stewart, Nationwide News. I know Minister Morgan isn't here, but if there's anyone that's been in touch with him, in terms of the Sandy Gully, I know there are residents near Riverton and Seaview Gardens who are concerned about the growth that's in there at the moment, worried about the inches of rainfall, and they want to know if there's any emergency clearance that will be done in that area, and if not, what should they do?
I did speak with Minister Morgan, and work has been taking place in the Sandy Gully. But the information is that those who are working had to go and deal with their family. But the work to clear the mouth of the Sandy Gully to allow free access will continue for as long as possible.
If it's a case where it's not completely clear by the time the hurricane is expected to meet, what would the advice be to people in that area?
Well, all of that area, if you look at the radar, points to sea surge, waves, storm surge. So those areas, look, the fact is that Kingston is low, extremely low. So there's no denying that with excess rainfall and a lot of flooding, there are going to be communities that will be flooded. There's no community in Kingston that is immune from flooding, especially those communities below Spanish Town Road. Below Spanish Town Road. So that is something that everybody needs to bear in mind.
Minister, I just wanted to add on the Sandy Gully. Our ministers are always working. So I have online Minister Robert Nesta Morgan, who will give an update. So I'm just going to put it on speaker. We're gonna be as resilient as we can be. Minister Morgan, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Morris Dixon. I'm actually in the hills of Clarendon preparing for the possible hurricane. I listened to the question from Mahir, and I just wanted to give a quick update as to what we have done at the Sandy Gully. So the initial urgent matter was to protect the bridge that joins Spanish Town Road. That bridge is an important connector between outside of the city and the city. It connects the ports, it connects the important health facilities such as the KPH, and it's also an important commerce carriageway. The second objective of what we did on Sandy Gully is to ensure that water flows to the sea. So we recognize that it would have been impossible for us to remove all the debris that is beyond the bridge, which is adjacent to Seaview. So we have created a large waterway that carries water to the sea. This does not negate the fact that sections of that area are actually on or below sea level. And as Minister Mackenzie said, if there's a storm surge, if there's significant water, persons are being advised to listen to the advisories from the Ministry of Local Government, the Office of Disaster Preparedness, because while we have done a lot of work and we've protected the bridge and have created a channel for the water to move, persons still have to take their safety in mind and watch what is happening and listen to the bulletins and listen to the instructions of the constituted authorities.
All right, thank you very much, Minister, and be safe.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marston. Thank you.
All right, told you, our ministers are always ready to answer your questions. All right, there are more questions right here. I think Mahiri is going to ask another question.
Yes, just an update on the toll for the highways and at what point those will be made free.
Shortly. Very shortly.
As the weather gets closer. So I would estimate this afternoon.
Okay. And is there any update you can give in terms of the evacuation of students? I know that there's a bus system for tertiary students around the area and UTech. What was the success rate of that?
They reached out to us yesterday, so JUTC has been in touch with them.
Mr. Vaz, Minister Vaz was saying, I don't know if you're hearing in terms of Jamaica or Jamaicans who are listening, but Minister Vaz is saying that a bus was made available for UE and UTech students, and JUTC has been working with them in terms of evacuation from there. Those are your questions? All right. Do we have any other questions from the media? Okay. Zara, we're just getting you mic'd so that we can hear the question appropriately.
Burton, Reuters again for today. I wanted to ask Minister Vaz, phone lines from Flow, I still on my phone can't seemingly make calls. I just wanted to know if you have any update. I know that there was a press conference with some of the telcos, but any update?
There was a press conference today. It was dealt with. There was some vandalism that this morning. They assured us that they will have it back up, repaired, and have the service back up by this afternoon.
Okay, so, but what time?
So specific to Flow, that's where the complaints are coming from, and that was in terms of telephone service.
Okay.
So we should hope that vandalism was the cause of it. So it would have affected especially people using the phones in the corporate area.
Okay, and this question is for, I don't know which minister is the right minister for this particular one, but WPIX reporter in New York, she's a meteorologist friend of mine. She was asking about evacuations. What are the preparations being made for, let us say, people get cut off from being able to, get into the regular roads by landslides or whatever?
That will be a collaborative effort between ODPEM, Ministry of Local Government, NWA. So the war room will take care of those things as they occur. So this, where we are sitting here now, will be the epicenter of the operations between now through this hurricane and after. So all the collaboration will take place and the information will go out as is required, depending on the information that comes into us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the media that's here? No? Okay, I'm going to take some other questions that I had seen in online, and so just let me get to them. There was a question about Portmore and storm surge. I know Minister Mackenzie, you had spoken about generally the South Coast, and you had also spoken about Kingston. Portmore, I'm assuming there is an issue there. Evan, would you like to? speak on Portmore, because there are questions on Portmore and along the south what to expect. So if you can get some more information on that, that would be good.
Yes, thanks for the question. The most I can say right now is that there is a model that is indicating the level of storm surge that is expected. Portmore is within that area that storm surge would be expected, because it would be east of the center of the system when it makes landfall. So any of those areas along the coast, moving from coastal Clarendon through coastal St. Catherine, including the areas of Hellshire, Portmore areas, and coming right through into Kingston and St. Andrew, could experience some amount of storm surge. Of course, differing levels. I know the highest levels were more in areas of Clarendon, parts of like Portland Cottage and some of those other areas that we've heard about having experienced flooding in the past in coastal Clarendon, Mitchelltown, etc. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another question I had to do with the homeless shelters. My GIS team, what do we do? Thank you. I have the best team at GIS. I have to tell all of Jamaica, they're just absolutely excellent and so supportive, and they're all here away from their families, and we do appreciate them so much. I have a question about the homeless shelters, Minister Mackenzie. I think they're asking about where these homeless shelters are. I know we've posted them online, but if you could just say a few words on the homeless shelters.
The homeless shelters are situated in every parish capital. So we have drop-in centers, we have shelters, and there are also some of the homeless are being housed in certain sections of the shelters that are situated. So a homeless person, they will know where to find it. There are still people on the ground as I speak out there dealing with the homeless population. So every parish have more than one shelter for the homeless. And let me say this, based on the survey that we were doing on the homeless population, we would have identified locations where these homeless people are. And that survey has helped us to go and find those persons. So it is not difficult this time to find them, because when we did the survey, we found them at the location that they would normally hang out. And we have been moving the homeless persons.
All right, thank you, Minister. I have another question which had to do with emergency assistance and what kind of assistance we're getting from the region and elsewhere. We've already gotten many of our international partners pledging to support, and ODPEM is the lead agency for organizing that in conjunction with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And so our missions overseas, they are already in touch with many of our partners. One key partner that we do have is SEDIMA. And here with us, we have Mandela Christian, who is representing SEDIMA, and that is our Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. And so our colleagues across the region, they have this body that comes together and provides disaster assistance. And they are already here helping with the coordination here in Jamaica, and will be lending support and coordinating that support from across the Caribbean. And so, this isn't just, one country or two countries we are getting support from. We are actually getting regional support, and we have to acknowledge SEDIMA and all the support that we get from them in these very difficult times. Those are all the questions that I have. I'm not seeing any other question. As we said, and as we close out, as we heard earlier from Evan Thompson, we are going to be experiencing this hurricane in terms of the intensity of it tomorrow night into Tuesday morning, but we are going to be feeling tropical storm conditions before then. We have to be very safe. There are many low-lying areas. We've heard the rainfall numbers. They're numbers we've never heard before. And so there is a high likelihood of flooding. We ask all our Jamaicans to please heed this warning. If you're asked to evacuate, your life is so, so, so important. And we want you to remain safe. So please listen to the authorities. On another note, it was just so devastating this morning to think that we are out of communication because of vandalism. Vandalism as we are about to face a hurricane, a very strong hurricane. This is not how we treat each other, and this is not the Jamaica that we all know. And so many people can't communicate right now because someone stole copper. That cannot be the way we prepare for a hurricane. I know we are better than that, and we need to do what we can to demonstrate that we are better than that. And so as you hear the warnings, please listen to them, and also remember that we're all in this together. Everybody is important, and we have to take care of everyone. If you know anyone who's elderly, anyone who has a disability needs support, please reach out to them so that they can be supported. And as always, look for the ODPEM numbers. ODPEM leads on disaster response. And so use those numbers so that you can get to an emergency personnel, a member of the emergency crew if you need it. But remember, after the storm starts, there's very little they can do. So if you can evacuate, we ask you to evacuate now. And so thank you, Minister Mackenzie, for all of your leadership. Thank you, Minister Vaz, and thanks to Minister Samuda, who had to leave. And of course, thanks to Evan Thompson, who we all rely on, and the entire Met Office team. And as always, as we close out this press briefing, we ask that you continue to pray for this country. Prayers work. They have worked time and time again, and let us continue to pray, and let us continue to pray that God will bless Jamaica land we love. Thank you.